Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Trend Report. I'm glad you're joining us today for a continuation of a mini series that we've been doing the first part of 2023, where we're talking about the future. And today is no different. We've shared information and insight about the future of the dealer and maybe the future of showrooms. Now we're going to talk about the future of the independent rep. And I'm really excited to have Kurtis Michela here with us today. Hey, Kurtis, how are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you, sir. So, Kurtis, tell everybody who you are, where you work, and kind of a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Kurtis Michela. I am the principal of the Michela Group. We are an independent manufacturer's representative that covers DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I am second generation. So over the last few years, have been in the process of taking over the company and fully as of basically January 1st of this year, my dad has stepped away into more of a consulting role. So it's the future is a very timely topic at the moment.
That's great. Well, first off, congratulations on taking over the business, the family business. That's got to be really exciting for you.
It is, yes. It is unexpected. Certainly not something I dreamed about as a little kid growing up. But
Okay,
I
let's be
love it.
clear,
I love it.
Kurtis.
Yeah.
Nobody dreams about going into the office furniture business when they're a kid growing up. Okay.
Yes. Well, it kind of ties in today. Growing up, I wanted to be one of the sports center anchors. So I'm like halfway there right now. I got my headshot and we're talking. So it's like
That's
I'm fulfilling a
right.
little bit of it.
That's great. So let's back up for a minute. And when did you, because you and I met in 2020 in Baltimore when I was helping to host a spring breakout event. And I remember you sharing with me that you were just coming back into the business or coming into the business. What made you like, what was the decision to say, hey, I want to join the family business?
Yeah. So a lot of it tied into, personal stuff that was going on. So I moved out to Los Angeles, chased my college girlfriend out there. She was working in the entertainment industry, and fast forward, it worked out well. We are now married. She's now my wife.
Okay. It's
But
not where I thought the story was going, by the way, but okay. It was a good chase then.
yeah, so we met in college, went to college in Maryland. She moved out there. And then after a while, and this is all pre-COVID, but
Sure.
she decided no longer wanted to be there. We started looking at, house, kids, family, all that kind of stuff, and then wanted to come back to Maryland. So during that time, it created an opportunity where my dad knew he was closer to the end of his career than the beginning and said, if you're ever going to join, now's a great time to do it. Um,
Sure.
and and I had worked for a few different tech companies. I was doing sales in the tech industry, so you know the concept of selling and the fundamentals all transitioned well. And I worked for a startup where I got to be involved in every single part of the business, so it gave me a nice foundation to transition into a small business.
Sure. So you come in and join the business. What year did you actually join your dad?
That was 2019.
Okay. So just a little bit before we actually met, and then the whole episode that happened in the world where we're shut down for a couple of years. Not, timing probably could have been a little bit better for you, right? But I mean, when you came into the business, what were your first thoughts about understanding what your dad had been doing and what the role of an independent rep was? And what was it like adjusting to the furniture world?
There was a pretty big adjustment. And really the hardest part for me to wrap my head around, and also still to this day, explaining to people outside of the industry is what an independent rep does. Because it's a little bit specific to our industry and some, adjacent ones, but whereas so many companies just sell things directly,
Mm-hmm.
our industry does not.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest adjustments were like understanding that flow. The concept of discounting, I was like, what is 50 and 10? What is 50 and 20? What is 50, 10, 10, and 5? Like, why don't you guys just say it's 63% off? Like, what? This makes no sense at all.
Dude, if
So
you could answer that question, you would like. I actually did research on that very question years ago. We were putting together a training program for people new to our industry. And we did research to try to figure out where 50-10, 50-10 and 5, 50-20 and 3, where all that came from. And we were not able to find the root source of it. But I sure would like to meet the person that thought that was a great idea, because I'm with you. Why can't we just say 60 off or 63 off or whatever the discount is, right?
I'll have to make a note to follow up about that, because I have asked my dad before. He started in the 80s in the industry, and he like had a pretty good grasp of what the answer was, but I just kind of forgot. So
I'd love to know. I think
I'll
the
follow
listeners
up on
would love
that.
to know too. Those that sell
Yeah.
office furniture would absolutely love to know. So you came in, Kurtis, and you started to learn the industry. A couple of things stood out to you. One of the things that I've always appreciated, and I know I talk about it and several of my colleagues talk about, is people coming from outside the industry, and whether they're adjacent industries or in your case, tech, and then a startup, you come in and you see things differently than what we see, which actually, in my opinion, allows for industry transformation. It allows for outside eyes to say, well, why have you always done it this way? Why can't we look at what other industries are doing and learn from those? And I think that's really important. And you're bringing that in. So I am curious, all that leading up to, as you looked at the business, is there a change that you made that was influenced by your past, if you will? Did you make a change in the business that was impacted from the past? That's the better question, I think.
Yeah. I mean, so the first thing I did basically when I joined was get us on Salesforce. So a lot of it had been, the bookkeeping was done in Excel and kind of through conversations. And I was like, all right, if we're going to scale this thing, and also just, as we grow, having a CRM is extremely important. We have since then left Salesforce and moved over to HubSpot because I think it gave us a little bit more. But that was the first sort of tech change, I
Sure.
guess you could say.
Yeah.
From there, I've also integrated some, video messaging.
Oh,
So
nice.
previously, I sort of tried them all, like Loom and Drift. I have since I just started using Vidyard, but that comes from more of a personal level of mine where I hate emailing. I like it's just writing the long formal emails and reading emails, and it's a large part of what I do. So if I have the ability to talk that out sometimes, particularly with so much of the buying process happening online and on websites and my resource library and those types of things, being able to like walk people through those is something I've started to integrate as well.
All right. So I want to come back to that because I have a couple of questions around that, but I think it's great that you've started with technology and realizing that capturing of data and information about your customers, your influencers, the specifiers was an important strategy to help fuel the growth of the business. In this case, CRM, you started with one, said, wait a minute, this is good, but there's another tool that's better. And then you upgraded to a more robust tool that fit the business model, which I think is fantastic. And I think more people need to think about technology impacts in our industry and how introducing some form of technology to help your business grow and capture, because really what Salesforce and HubSpot do as a CRM or a contact record management, I think is what the term calls, is about understanding who your customers are, capturing information about them, and then being able to communicate with them at the appropriate time, but also keeping track of information like opportunities and orders and things of that nature. So love that you started at technology. And before we dive into the video messaging, I want to go back for a second, and I'm going to ask you the question, and tell me how you answered it, which is, what does an independent rep really do?
There's a few different aspects to it. So, actually stealing this line from one of your previous episodes, we have multiple customers, the three customer approach that I think it was Rob Day that talked about. One of our customers is the actual manufacturer. They are the ones at the end of the day who are paying us. So I think of it as, small to mid-market manufacturers outsource their sales, customer service, and sometimes marketing to local rep groups around the
Mm-hmm.
country. That's, I think, the easiest way to grasp what we do. So, compared to, the Herman Miller or Miller Knoll now and Steel Cases of the world who have direct reps, we get paid only based on what we sell. But at the same time, we have the freedom to run our business however we please.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on the manufacturer side. On, the local influence, if you will, the dealers and the A&D community, for them, we're a source of knowledge. We're a resource. We provide the customer service post sale, but also just try to be a tool and a partner for them.
Okay.
So
So are you say, so I just want to clarify, 3 customers being the manufacturer. I love the way you look at that because truly they are a customer, the dealer and the A&D. So 3 different ones, or is there a third one after dealer / A&D?
So ultimately, the end user is someone that I wish we were more involved with, at least, our personal group. Sometimes I have found that the dealers like to keep sort of a distance between, and part of it is because, they're talking to me, they're talking to some of my competitors, they're talking to other manufacturers. But a lot of times, the end user is that other customer as well, because they're the ones who are ultimately using the furniture. So understanding how they're using it, what they're using it for, is it, a chair they're sitting in for 30 minutes or for 3 hours? So making sure that they have the correct product, as opposed to just, when we're working with the dealer, we say, okay, well, we'll give you 50 and 20 instead of 50 and 10. So that's kind of where I view that third customer.
Sure. I think that's a great analogy of them as well. And I think it sounds like you have a really great understanding of who they are and the role that the independent rep plays within them. And, when you think back to the 80s, in the 90s, when your dad started in the business and was in the business, and I would say this probably continued through the mid 2000s, an independent rep was, for the most part, somebody that walked into a dealership, went into the library, updated the binder, the physical binder, and then walked around and talked to people to see how they could, how can I help you? What are you working on? And I mean, I remember being at a dealer that happened almost daily, that a rep would come in and they were very welcome in the business, right? But now that job has changed and evolved with tools like my resource library and other tools. We're in this digital transformation, if you will, where people want things at their fingertips. So talk to me for a minute, Kurtis, about how you as a rep group are evolving to meet that change that's happening in the industry.
Yeah. A couple different ways. So you're exactly right. In terms of being able to see people, one of my customers, they're fairly large dealer in the area, and the way they kind of have their office visiting set up is that the sales reps never have to be there, and the designers come in twice a week, but they get to pick the day. So it's not like they're all there on Wednesday. So, finding a time to get in front of them is extremely challenging. But so I have to figure out ways, how can I interact with them every day or multiple times a week to stay top of mind? Really, so when a project comes up, my job is to say, wonder what Kurtis has, becoming that first thought. So we're doing it with a couple ways. So I mentioned the switch from Salesforce to HubSpot, and that is basically to be able to stay in their inbox. You don't want to necessarily spam people, but since we're business partners, sending them pictures, sending them updates, sending them successful projects that we've done. Anytime manufacturers are running promotions, but at the same time, creating other tools and integrating other tools so that when I'm not there or the people on my team are not there, they're still able to do it. So, by the time this comes out, we'll actually have our new website up, which, is going to integrate with my resource library. And I'm always surprised when I go into dealers, either that they don't know about it or they know about it and have never used it. So, spending time to show them, hey, here is the Michela Group's library in my resource library.
Mm-hmm.
If you type in chair, a picture of every single chair we comes up, or, pops up, no matter who the manufacturer is, and like just raising the awareness around that.
Sure. So you highlighted something that I think is important to understand, because I've talked a lot about on the show that I think one of the greatest opportunities, as well as one of the greatest challenges in our industry, is the evolution of the hybrid workplace. And your customer, and I've also focused a lot in on the design community and how do we reach the design community. And because some of them are working, some of them are not working, but you just highlighted there is a dealer in your market that has fully embraced the hybrid workplace. And salespeople are never required to be in the office. They're your number one or maybe number two customer, right? And then the designers only come in 2 days a week and they're your number one or your number two customer as well, right? So maybe the salespeople and the designers are tied for that number one spot. So the people you need to reach on a daily basis are not in the office when you go to the office to the dealership to visit with them, which makes sales very challenging. So one of the ways you've addressed doing that is email communication. So you got HubSpot. It's a powerful tool. So now you're doing some email automation. You're sharing images with them, product updates. You're updating your website that will include your My Resource Library binder. And I also noticed on your website, you have a chat bot. Are you going to continue with the chat bot?
Yes, the chat bot will continue to be there. So right now it's set up as, kind of an instant response. Ultimately, I would like for it to be, there are those ones, the Verizon's the first one that comes to mind. It's like you pop on and it says, do you have a question about, existing customer versus, account management, or are you looking for a new product, and having that kind of flow, automated flow. That's eventually where I would like to be. So if I can't respond to that at all, it goes to an app on my phone, so I'm able to get it relatively quickly.
Sure.
But yeah, creating those types of tools so things can be working for me even when I'm not working.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're leveraging technology, I think is my biggest takeaway so far, to meet your customer where they are, which is not in the office. They're likely on a device, whether it's a computer, a laptop, a smartphone, or an iPad type device, looking for certain things. And you're making it easy for them to get access, not just to you, but to information about the products that you sell.
Yep. And not just that. I mean, it's, one of the things we're going to have is an interactive lead time guide that will update monthly because it's changing. So, you'll be able to come to the website and say, all right, I need, one, it'll show who our manufacturers are, but also, okay, hey, someone needs 3 chairs in 3 weeks. All right, I can get it here versus, we're doing a full project. Okay, this one has an 8-week lead time. So just having that as a resource, because right now people just say, hey, what's the lead time on this? And, it also gives me a reason, it gives my team a reason to proactively reach out to one of those customers, which would be the dealer or in the A&D community. So every month, instead of just sending an email saying, hey, how's it going? I can say, hey, it's the first Friday of the month. Here's your lead time guide for February.
Love that.
Creating content that has some value.
I absolutely love that. Again, giving them the information that they want and that they need and they're looking for, because not every project can have 6 to 8, 10, 12, whatever lead times are. Some people need things quickly. And so you're providing a tool and a resource. I assume that's on the public side of your website. Is that correct? It's not gated?
Correct. It will be. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's a great tool to share with the dealer community so they can truly see without having to try to track you or another member of your team down. And in episode 108 of the Trend Report, which was my conversation with Amanda Snyder, the president and founder of ThinkLab, we talked about the currency in our industry and how the currency in the industry had changed pre-pandemic, then during, and now coming out of what we've been going through. And one of the things Amanda talked about, Kurtis, you're actually doing, but I have a question about it, which is the way she described it was prior to 2020, the currency in our industry was relationships, which I would
Mhm.
totally agree with you. During 2020 and 2021, the currency in our industry was information. People were seeking information and anywhere they could get it to specify projects, to work with their customers and things of that nature. Now, coming out of this in 2022, 2023 and beyond, Amanda's Amanda's thought process on this is that the currency in our industry is now customer experience. Okay. Combined. So that's information, if you will,
Mhm.
combined with relationships, because relationships in our industry will never go away. The first part of that you're addressing really, really well with giving them technology tools. You're communicating with them. We're going to dive into this video chat in just a minute. You've got a chat bot. You've got an interactive lead time guide, your My Resource Library. So they want a chair from you. Everything comes up, all great tools. But how are you addressing the relationship side and building the relationships with the people, in this case, that aren't in the office? So can you share some tips or insights around that?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I think like selling in any industry, follow up is extremely important. So when you are presented with those opportunities, do what you say you're going to do so that they're more
Mhm.
likely to come back. Um, in addition to taking every opportunity you can to go to the office, going to events, whether it's, industry events like IDA or AIA, interacting with real estate people. Um, I have taken an approach on the relationship side where, I don't view every independent rep group or every manufacturer's rep as the competition. I think they're, um, particularly on the independent side, like it's better if we work together. Now, whether that's, you know, let's say a manufacturer's rep group that is in a different part of the market. So perhaps, they're a little more transactional selling, or perhaps,
Mhm.
they're doing super high end furniture that's, handmade in Italy or something like that. Or,
Yep.
it's a flooring rep or ceiling tiles, or, you treat, instead of treating those people as competitors, saying like, hey, you know what, we're trying to get in front of the same person. You're selling flooring, I'm selling furniture, let's walk in there together and maybe, we can pull on each other's relationships.
Sure. I love that. I've often talked about, as an industry, how we are better together than we are apart. And I
Totally.
love the collaboration with, you know, higher end or lower end, however you want to describe it, furniture products. I also love it as it relates to ancillary products or adjacent products, because bringing a carpet rep or a fabric rep along with you, or them bringing you along with them, helps everybody, right?
Hmm.
It helps you. It allows them to introduce you to people that you don't know, and vice versa. It also gives you an opportunity to start building stronger relationships inside that dealership or that design firm. So I think it's a win-win. And my term, I should probably try to trademark this, is, and I think I used it in the last episode, is co-opetition.
Yeah.
Let's cooperate together. Let's help each other because we are better together. And there's no reason that we have to fight each other for every little piece of the job. I think we should collaborate together. And I think we'll go a long way as an industry. We could move forward as an industry. And honestly, that's what we're doing here, right? You're coming together, you're sharing what you're doing that's transforming your business, that's helping your business as a second generation owner grow, and you're sharing it with our community. And hopefully members of our community get ideas that they could actually go and implement in their business as well, whether they're a dealer or an independent rep or a manufacturer, because in some sense, Kurtis, we're all facing similar challenges,
Absolutely.
all facing them. And so I think if we can solve them together, then we're better together.
Yeah. And I think, you know, when I joined the industry, I had, business experience from another field.
Mm-hmm.
So then I came to my dad and I learned, the way he ran it. Everything he did was very relationship based and like customer service based. But then, I would look at other rep groups and see that they were doing a really good job with social media or their website or, industry events. And was very quick just to reach out and say, hey, I'm new to the industry. I don't know what I don't know. Like, why are you doing this? Or, do you mind if I buy you a coffee and we talk about this thing? And everyone has been extremely receptive, extremely helpful. So, I mean, I encourage people, if you've been in the industry for 15 or 20 years, like, don't stop trying to learn. One of the things I've leaned on our manufacturers for is, anytime I have a conversation with, the VP of sales, I'll say, okay, what's your number one territory? And if they say it's this part in the country, what are they doing well? Like, what tools are they using? And they'll say, oh, that's actually the principal there is Michelle at the Lions Group. You should reach out to her. Or and then, I'll talk to her at Neocon or talk to her over the phone and say, why are you doing this? What are you doing this thing? And just exchanging those ideas. Because like you said, we're not competition. So if everyone does better, then it's good for everybody.
100%. And I love the idea of reaching to other people across the country. And the question you're asking your VP of sales or your regional is a great question to ask, is what are they doing? Benchmarking success. And then hearing that story, it's kind of like this again, right? Hearing the story, and then you take away what component of that story that you heard that works for your business, right? Whether it's one aspect of it or the entire thing, it doesn't matter, but you take something away from it and then you move your business one step forward, which again is helping you, helping your customers and your specifiers, and it's helping our industry.
Yeah,
forward progress. All right. So I want to go back to the video for a second. And the sending the video to the dealer, the designer, and a lot of people have video phobia. Like, they don't want to be on camera, and gosh, you can see all my wrinkles on camera. So,
yeah.
But what was the first catalyst that said, I want to try this sending video rather than sending emails?
I had previously used it. So, the startup I worked for was a company called Snack Nation, and we, basically sold healthy snacks to businesses. So it was B2B. But you're calling on the off managers. It's like straight up cold calling. And the company grew really quickly. So I was employee number 12 when I left. There was 150, and it gave me the opportunity to like go through all the different roles within the sales organization. So we tried out every possible sales technology. And so we were using a lot of them at the time, those messages. So I had experience with it. But it was really when COVID started, and I was like, oh man, how am I going to stay in touch with these people? I was able to fall back on like, oh yeah, I've used Drift before. Let me go, download that real quick. So having some experience with it made it an easier transition.
You're also young. Let's be clear. Kurtis is young. Sid is old. So trying a video app, easy for you, but you brought it from the startup industry you're in, because it was pretty much all cold calling. And if you've ever cold called, that is not the easiest thing in the world to do. So you said, let me try this. And then you started with one application, then you moved to Vidyard. So, and I'm a little bit familiar with Vidyard, but tell me what it is what do you get out of using a video messaging?
Yeah. Well, an important note on it is like, it's rare that I will send just a video to a stranger, because realistically, we have to hope we make it through their spam filter. Then also hope that they click it and watch it. So it's
and watch it the whole way through. Let's be clear, the consumption rate, right?
Yes. So, how we were using it there, it would be cold call, email, then maybe a video. So it's a good tool for someone who at least is going to recognize your name. If you have a relationship with them, even better. The way I most recently used it was a project I'm working on for OM Seating, one of our seating manufacturers, and they wanted a specific fabric that you can put on a conference chair, but you can't put it on a task chair. So with Vidyard, you're able to have a little box down in the corner where that shows my face, but I did a screen sharing. So essentially I was like, hey, this is, you want this canter fabric. Well, we can do it on this one. It's going to cost X amount of dollars. Or, for a little bit more, you can do, a true leather. And this is the cost difference. Showed them the price guide, showed them the pictures of the chair, compared the two, pulled up my calculator app, typed in the difference, sent it to them. And it was about a 70-second video. So that's someone I've worked with before. I wouldn't send something that long to a complete stranger, but knowing that I was able to show them and give them all of those answers in 70 seconds, and that would probably have taken them 10 or 15 minutes, or they just wouldn't have done it and they would go to sit on its website and just use their interactive website thing. So that's how, part of it is like, the David versus Goliath thing. How am I going to fight these giant companies? And trying to be creative and doing it that way.
So my takeaways here are: know the customer that you're sending the video to. It's not a great idea to do it as a random cold call or to a designer at Gensler that you've never met before. Hey, I'm Kurtis. I'm, the owner of this, blah, blah, blah. Right. So know the person, know the audience that you're going for, and then provide good, succinct information. In your case, you're responding, you screen shared, and then I'm going to listen to it 70 seconds. That's a minute and 10 seconds, right? Think about that for a second. You provide it and you send it to this customer. You send it as a link. It's embedded in the email, correct?
Right.
Send
it's
it
embedded in the email. So I can either do just like, a thumbnail still video. You can do a GIF or like an animated 5-second loop of that. You have the ability to customize
that way. They see that it's a video and they see your face and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So, but I also I'm thinking about, I've had that similar conversation with somebody, right? What you just did was save yourself time and them time, because if you'd have jumped on the phone, well, first, if you tried to do an email, you probably would have gone back and forth with 4 or 5 different emails, right? Trying to answer the question. Oh, here's an image of this. Oh, let me go do it over here. And then you take 10 minutes, you come back with an image, and here's what it looks like with this, right? You could have gone back and forth a dozen plus emails with it, right?
Right. And possibly 24 hours.
Absolutely. Time, right?
Yeah.
Then let's say you try to do it on the phone, it could have turned into a 30-minute phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. It certainly facilitates relationship building, but you've got a lot to do. That person's got a lot to do. They've got deadlines. They're trying to meet. Let's get this done, right? So you took, I don't know, 5 minutes to prep. I'm just guessing to what you were going to do. And then you hit the record button and you sent a 70-second video with all the information that client needed, and you solved the problem quickly. I love it.
Yeah. You made a comment about not necessarily sending it to, a designer I've never met at Gensler. I would potentially do that, but it would be, led by a couple things first. So, first I would try to call them, and I would have a reason calling them, say, hey, maybe, I know they're involved on this project, or, a good example would be, so we're working with a company called Fact that makes, acoustical ceiling tiles. And I believe one of the Gensler locations around the country did a project, and I believe they're putting it into their showroom. I don't know which one, but, maybe I'd call them and say, hey, I'm calling to talk about Fact. One of your other offices is putting this in your showroom. When's some time that I can talk about it? Start with the voicemail. Then next time in DC, I would maybe drop my card or drop a little pamphlet off and make sure it's on their desk. Then I'd follow up with an email. If I still haven't heard anything back, then I'd send the video that says, hey, you probably saw this on your desk. Here's who left it for you. So there is a time to send it to a stranger. It's an extremely valuable tool, but I would do a couple things leading up to that.
Perfect. And you just outlined a great sales strategy, honestly, to reach a designer, right? Exactly. Yeah. Leave a voicemail, follow up with an email, drop by their office, drop off a brochure, whatever it is, with a note, and then follow up with a video email. I mean, that's a great strategy, because it is a challenge reaching the dealer, reaching the designer. It is one of the biggest challenges we're facing, because they specify millions of dollars worth of furniture. How do we get to them? You just outlined an amazing strategy to try to get in front of them.
Yeah. And if it's, maybe they haven't been to the office in a month, and, I know, let's say it's a an organization where I know they're not going to the office very
Mhm.
often, maybe it's a Starbucks gift card or something that you leave behind and say, hey, I left this gift card on your desk. One, it gives them a reason to go back in, but also,
Mhm.
$10 is still cheaper than a lunch and learn for the whole company. So, you know,
Yes, absolutely. And those lunch and learns are becoming rare and rare and more rare, right?
extremely rare, extremely rare. And a lot of times I don't even think they're interested necessarily.
Mhm.
One of the principles of a dealer who I'm sure you cross path with in your previous life, he had a very brash LinkedIn post that just said, the lunch and learn is dead. If we can't find it on your website, we're not working with you. And that's actually, I think it was back in the fall a couple months ago, but that when I was like, oh crap, a new website is my number one priority. And, responding to what my customer wants and making that my priority.
Mhm. So my biggest takeaway from this conversation is the future of the independent rep is about innovation. It's about innovating the process. It's about trying new things. It's about changing and adapting to the way sales in our industry is changing. It's about changing and adapting to your customer is, because your customer, the specifier is getting younger and younger and younger. And they don't operate the way that I operate or the generation above me operates. They don't operate the same way. So innovation is the future or key component of the future of the independent rep.
Yeah, innovation. And I think, for any kind of selling, multiple touch points, um, you know, a lot of what I am basing this off of is how I like to buy things. So, if I'm, most recently I did it with my Garmin watch that I'm wearing.
Mm-hmm.
So I start by saying, type into Google best fitness tracker. A couple things come up. I say, okay, well, let me read the CNET article. And then it gives me their top 10 based on price points, what I'm doing, activities, what type of my phone I have. Then I go to YouTube and I watch, you know, 3 different videos reviewing all these. Now, granted, I'm not like spending my entire afternoon doing this, but at night when I'm going down to bed or laying in bed watching
Yep.
TV, I'll watch that. So it's a multi touch point buying process. So I think what our industry needs to do is adapt to that quickly. So, one of my goals, it's probably more like realistically middle of 2023, is having multiple videos on our YouTube channel where it's little things like, some of it can be for people outside of the industry, but also people in the industry. Like, what are all those levers under the chair? Like, why are there
Mm-hmm.
3 of them? Why are there 4 of them? And most people have no idea. A lot of people in our industry have no idea. So, making a 3 minute, 4 minute video where it just says, okay, well, this one does the height. This is a seat slider. This locks the tension. But it's now that it's up there on YouTube, floating around,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that can sell for me when I'm not selling. So, you know, let's say a dealer takes a chair out, they take a specialty chair out to an end user. So now there's 2 degrees of separation there. So someone's going to be making a judgment on my product that I have don't have as much influence on as I would like. So now maybe I can say, hey, if they have any questions, check out this link on YouTube. And here I am saying, here's what this lever is, here's what this lever is. And it puts a person and some personality into the product. So I think people will, particularly younger generations who, I'm this way, I live and die by what is the first 5 results on Google. Um, you know, it's going to be part of the buying process. And I think that's where our industry has a long way to catch up to.
Oh, 100%. You are spot on. We have a long way to go to catch up with it. You're leading the way, friend, and you're doing things that other people aren't doing it. And I absolutely love the fact that you're going to YouTube and you're going to start putting consumable information that people can discover, that hopefully you're going to direct it back to your website, right? And hey, need more information, go to our website. But then you've also creating content that your dealers can share, or you can direct people, hey, here's a link to the YouTube channel where I describe all the features and functions of this chair. And in 3 minutes, they could watch it and understand the chair and ask you for more information rather than you going back and forth. Well, I can bring the sample by on this date or this date. And well, I'm not going to be there. And have all this back and forth, but yet in 3 minutes, they used a tool like YouTube to discover something. Because I'm going to tell everybody right now, go to YouTube and type in office furniture and see what you get. It's going to be a bunch of garbage. And people trying to sell you something, or influencers hawking their latest height adjustable table or gaming chair that they get paid on.
It's gaming chairs, or it's people that are working at home. It's just someone with a popular YouTube channel bought a new chair from Amazon and they're reviewing it.
Yep.
You'll occasionally, someone will spend maybe $700 or $800 on something from Steelcase or Herman Miller, but it's pretty rare. It's usually, these are the 3 best chairs from IKEA. That's what's probably going to pop up when you Google best at home chair or something.
I'm so excited to see what you do with YouTube, because I've said a long time ago that somebody in our industry needs to step up and start putting real office furniture content on YouTube, like commercial contract office furniture on YouTube. All right. Are you going to TikTok? Should I start following you on TikTok, or am I going to see you like dancing in chairs and stuff, Kurtis?
No.
Okay.
I think I see the value of it, or potential value of it. It's not on my 2023 priority list. I'll put it that way.
All right. So I'm just going to say to any of the listeners that are listening right now, if you happen to see Kurtis on TikTok, I need you to just comment on TikTok that says, "You said no." And here you are.
Yes.
Fair enough. I'm going to be watching for you.
I know. We'll start baby steps. We'll start with YouTube. So, kind of one of my New Year's resolutions was to have no resolution. Just say, okay, it's not a year-long thing. Let's focus. Let's take this 30 days at a time.
Sure.
So January is the website, February, March, April. So later on in the year is YouTube. Maybe as the company grows, having some time for TikTok. But I think we're, for the B2B world, I don't quite see the value there yet. I think the B2C world, absolutely. If I were selling, I don't know, like, I can see my kitchen so it pops in. If I was selling like a koozie, like, a trendy koozie that went viral, I think TikTok is a great place for it.
Totally agree.
I don't know if someone's going to be buying a phone booth.
Certainly going to be interesting. Kurtis, thank you so much for joining me today, for sharing your insights, what you're doing. Congratulations on all that you've accomplished, and honestly, the amazing ideas that you have about moving the business forward. Congratulations on second generation's first year. I'm going to be excited to check in with you later in the year, see how things are going, and give us an update about what's going on. And I'm going to be looking for that YouTube channel. By the way, what's the YouTube channel handle, or do you have it yet?
I do have it set up. There's nothing on there yet. I should know this. It'll all be on the website. We'll link to it so it's www.themichelalagroup.com. Michela is Michela. By the time this is posted, our new site will be up, and we'll have a link to the YouTube.
Perfect. We'll be sure to link that and your email and all that in the show notes. But again, thank you for being here today. Great conversation. If our community would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Send me an email, Kurtis@themichelagroup.com. It's Kurtis with a K, but either there or visit the website. So
that's awesome. And be sure, if you do reach out to Kurtis directly, let him know you heard him here on the Trend Report and you're reaching out because of this great conversation. Kurtis, thanks again. Go out there and have a great day, everybody. And we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Take care.